current advisor, every time you ask them about the Roth, they kind of give you like a quick answer. Maybe they're not running an actual computer simulation for you to show you what if you converted money to a Roth, this might be your tax savings, right? Throughout the course of your retirement. All right. And that's what the computer programs that I use that are actually able to show us what our potential tax savings might be. Or maybe you have money that you know is going to be going to your kids and you want to make sure that they don't have to report big chunks of money on their personal income tax returns as taxable income. So if all of these things that I'm mentioning, these are things that are typically have people needing some outside advice for. So look, grab your phone right now, keep it handy, okay? Because for the next 5 callers, I personally will be putting together a completely comprehensive financial plan that addresses all of these areas that I just mentioned. Not only that, but I'm also going to show you some techniques that can help you in maximizing how you claim your Social Security benefits. I'm going to show you how to generate that monthly income that you're going to need. Monthly income from a secure source we're talking about that can continue to pay you each month for the rest of your life, regardless of how long you live. And the computer program that I use, it's also going to be showing you in plain English what your potential tax savings could look like if you make certain little adjustments, sometimes small adjustments. And we didn't have these types of simulators when I first started doing this 27 years ago. But guess what? We've got them now. All right, they're here. And I would love to run some of these programs for our listeners. So, and the reason is because our accountants are typically not showing us, what we could do with our retirement account balances to help in minimizing the taxes on those balances in the future. Okay, that's why these computer programs are so important. So here's the phone number. All right, and this is again for the next 5 people. I personally will be building you one of these financial plans, tax plans, investment ideas, all of that, and it's on the house. All right, as long as you're between the age of 50, 75, and have at least $250,000 saved between your savings, investments, not including your real estate. Okay, so here is the number. It's 610-894-7415. Again, 610-894-7415. And think about it. This is a great time of year. Here we are, the month of June. And I know a lot of folks have some little bit of time off for vacation here and there. And wouldn't it be nice to knock this out? And we could do this over some phone calls. We could do it, and I can present everything to you on a Zoom meeting. You can stop by my Radnor office. We can meet there. But let's not procrastinate with this. Mm-hmm. We something we all need to do as we get closer and closer to retiring. We got to have our ducks in a row. Or even if we're already retired, we need to make sure that we're still on track and not missing anything important from a tax standpoint. Because when it comes to tax planning, that seems to be the area that people are getting the least amount of guidance, is what I'm finding. And I'm the guy to change that for you, to help you out with that. So one last time, I'll give you the number as we close out the show here, Chris. The number to call now, 610-894-7415.
As always, I want to thank you for joining us here on Freedom to Retire with Jim Cipriotti, and is powered by the Retire Ready Financial Group. Hope you have a great week ahead of you. Hope you stay safe out there. Stay cool if you can. Jim, appreciate the time as always. And as we wrap up here, I want to leave you with the final word.
Well, thanks, Chris. Our listeners are enjoying the summer sunshine, enjoying themselves with their families and friends and loved ones. And always remember to get that second opinion on your current situation when it comes to your finances. Make sure you're not missing anything important. Here to help. Hope everyone has a fantastic week. Looking forward to next time.
If you have questions or concerns about reaching your retirement goals, then give Retire Ready Financial Group a call, 610-894-7415, or visit online at retirereadyfg.com.
Investment advice offered through Retire Ready Wealth Management, Pennsylvania registered investment advisor, able to provide investment advice in states where it is registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness.
This program is paid for by Retire Ready Financial Group. All opinions or statements expressed on the program are solely those of Retire Ready Financial Group or their guests and do not reflect the views of WPHT or Odyssey. Today's program is WPHT, WPHT HD, WOJ.
WPHT Philadelphia. From the Piazza Premium Automobile Studios, powering your drive with 10 brands and 20 locations. Always live on the free Odyssey app. Live and local with Kathy Barnette on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Yes. God bless America. 250 years young. God bless America. Yes, that is my prayer. What an amazing country. What an amazing privilege. You and I. You know, the Word of God says in the book of Acts that it is God who determines the exact place and the exact time we have each been born, if that is true. And I believe that it is. But if that is true, what a blessing that that it was decided that you and I would be born Americans. There's a reason why millions of people do whatever they can do to get into this country. I can assure you, 20 million people are not trying to sneak into China unless they're trying to flee North Korea. Otherwise, that ain't happening. But do you know where that is happening? Right here in our country. What a privilege to be an American. God bless our country. Thank you, Jesus, that I am an American. That it was decided before the foundation of the world that I would be born right here in this time. What an amazing thing when you think about it. I just get emotional. I have like a lump in my throat when I think about this country and 250 years young. And, you know, I feel as though I get emotional because I'm grateful to be an American. Uh, you know I am fully aware of the good, the bad, and the downright despicable things that have taken place in this country, in America, as it relates to me being a Black person. I grew up, most of you know my story, in very rural, very deep. When I mean deep, one stop sign town. Deep south of Alabama. I grew up in a home with no insulation, no running water, an outhouse in the back, a well on the side. And, you know, I saw my family work so hard to provide for us, but I don't recall anyone ever calling me a victim. I don't remember anyone ever looking at me and saying, girl, you're Black, you're a woman, you're poor, hang it up, kid. I don't remember that. I saw my family working very hard, and I believed when I was a little girl that if I keep my nose clean, if I get an education, I something triggered within me as a young lady that I believe education was the tool. Education was the thing I needed to lean into the most. That education could become a weapon. It could become a ladder that I could use to climb out from underneath that rock and into a better situation. And now education, education is not the magic tool, right? Because you have so many people who come here on scholarships, flee their country, and come to our country. They're smart, they're economists now, but apparently they weren't able to do it in whatever country they came for. But it's something so special and unique about our country. And there's a reason why parents will put their child in the back of a meat truck, cross their fingers, and pray that they make it across our border. There's a reason why parents give their children over to coyotes, not knowing if their baby is going to make it or what kind of condition they're going to make it in to our country, right? Raped, pillaged, or whatever, maimed. But in their country, there's so much hopelessness that they're willing to do that. And most people understands how valuable and precious this country is. My prayer, one of my prayers, is that that Americans will remember just how amazing this country is, and that we would do a better job of wanting to build this country. And when you see people who have benefited off the back of this country and off the sacrifices of this nation, and you see them criticizing this country, don't just walk past. Pay attention, right? I was just, as I was coming in, I was thinking about this, and I decided to make a little list. But like Kamala Harris, for example, right? Her mother came here on a very lucrative scholarship. She was studying cancer. She's a cancer researcher, and she came here to our country from India, some part of India, on a scholarship. Kamala Harris' father came here on a student scholarship to the University of California, and he became a professor of economics at Stanford University. You have Pete Buttigieg. His father came from very impoverished country in Europe, Malta, and he came here on a scholarship and worked as a professor of literature at the University of Notre Dame. You're getting a theme here that these people had to leave their country because their country did not provide them whatever the conditions are that our country provided, that allows people who are willing to put in the work and the effort to come here and to get an education and create a very lucrative life for themselves. So that was Kamala Harris. That's Pete Buttigieg. And then I started thinking about Ilhan Omar, right? Her family fled Somalia during a civil war and the collapse of the Somalia government. They were in some refugee camp for some time in Kenya. And then our country granted them asylum. Barack Hussein Obama, his father, who didn't raise him, from Africa. His grandmother and mother raised him. His mother seemed a little loose with all of her photos out there. But his grandmother, I think she was a bank president, and Obama attended a private school as a child. And I could just go on and on and on. And then you have this latest person, Zohran Mamdani. I'm going to talk about him a little bit later because I've nominated him for Nut of the Week. But here you have Zohran Mamdani. His father moved to Uganda as part of the British colonial rule. So he was one of these middlemen in the trade and commerce industry, and Uganda expelled him, kicked his family out because they got rich off the back of poor people, of Africans. And then his father moved from Uganda, went to southern South Africa, got kicked out of South Africa because, again, they know how to come in and they exploit the opportunities, imperial colonialists. And then they moved to America. And now his father, Mahmoud, I believe his name is a professor at Columbia Ivy League University, hustling race politics there. And now you see his children, right? So you see these are the parents, Kamala parents, Pete Buttigieg father, Zohran Mamdani's parents. His mother is a multimillionaire, Ilhan Omar parents, Obama and his parents. And then these parents come to our country. They do what no other country would allow them to do. And then they raise these little snotty-nosed brats who turn into the biggest communists, flinging open the borders of our nation, flooding our nation with we don't even know who these people are. Many of them we are beginning to know, right? The ones who are raping and murdering and maiming people. But they have these kooky ideas, right? It wasn't communism that allowed their families to succeed. It was capitalism. The foundation of this nation, it was democracy. It wasn't, consolidating power in the hands of a few elites within government, but it was our representative republic. It was our democracy that has allowed them to be able to do the things that they've done. And what do these sniveling, weak-minded reprobates do? How do they repay us, Americans, who have sweat and blood invested into this country, who have kept this country alive for 250 years? How do they repay us in just one generation? Our nation is on a knife's edge. I'm so grateful to God that if we had to go through this period of economic woes, rumors of wars, and rumors of wars all around us, what is happening with our girls' sports and just all of this, right? The flooding of our nation with these illegals, this bloated budget. If we had to go through this, and apparently we are going through this, that we have someone like Donald Trump in office who I believe actually love our country. But it's so interesting, as I was just thinking about how I'm so grateful to be an American. I'm so grateful to be here in this country, and I love our nation. I remember as a young girl getting ready to graduate from boot camp, walking across the base, and the thought hit me like, you could be deployed to go to war and die. And at the time, I joined the military because I needed the GI Bill to pay for college. Remember, I'm poor. I needed money for college. I didn't, yes, I should have had this thought before I enlisted, but better late than never. Now I'm having this come to Jesus moment like, girl, you could go to war. You could die. But I remember thinking through that, and I remember making a conscious decision that if I was deployed and if I was called to lay my life down for this country, I would do so. But in order for me to do that, I needed to understand the history of this country. And that started me down the quest of first starting off reading one substantive book about each of our founding fathers, which then just kind of opened up the door to reading so many things. And let me just read to you guys out of my book. If you are on YouTube, you can see my book right here that I wrote. It went #1. Yay to me on Amazon. Nothing to lose, everything to gain. Being Black and conservative in America is my own journey. But, if I was going to lay, because again, you're right. Yeah, I'm a young girl. You hear everybody talking about how America is so racist, how America is so horrible and all of that, especially in the Black community. As I grew up and, kind of moving throughout life. And now I'm like, okay, well, am I going to die for this country that, from what I'm being told, is so horrible? And I began to read and study. And as most of you know, I have the blood of slave coursing through my vein. That house I described growing up in, my great-great-great-grandmother Rhoda grew up in that home, and she was a slave. But these are some stories. Here's one. I call it "The Patriotism of Slaves" is the name of this chapter. And let me just read a little bit. The patriotism of slaves was a patriotism that produced hope, if only temporarily. But it was a hope that created opportunities for them for the first time to live above their predefined station in life. For the first time, they did not see themselves as victims. Their patriotism made them victors over their circumstances. They took possession of a freedom that was not their own and cloaked themselves with a hope not intended for them. Their freedom, this freedom they took hold of would not be the culmination of their fate. But from hopelessness to hope, a yearning was sparked. I'm dropping down. Here are two stories. If you walked into my home, you would see a portrait of Peter Salem. One day, they're witnesses to a black family being raffled off one by one in front of some tawdry tavern. And the next day, a black man, Peter Salem, wins the esteem of his white Minuteman unit and is presented to General George Washington not as a slave, but as the man who has slain the officer leading the British detachment at Bunker Hill. Here's another story. Jehu Grant was a slave who fled his master's fields and served in the army for 10 months. This is what Jehu read. This is what he actually wrote. I was then grown to manhood in the full vigor and strength of life, and heard much about the cruel and arbitrary things done by the British. Their ships lay within a few miles of my master's house, which stood near the shore, and I was confident that my master traded with them, and I suffered much from fear that I should be sent aboard a ship of war. This I disliked. But when I saw liberty poles and the people all engaged for the support of freedom, I could not but like and be pleased with such things. God forgive me if I sinned in so feeling. And living on the borders of Rhode Island, where whole companies of colored people enlisted, it added to my fears and dread of being sold to the British. These considerations induced me to enlist into the American Army, where I served faithful about 10 months when my master found and took me home. These are just, in my book, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain. You can purchase it off of Amazon. These are the stories, the many faces I talk about that allowed me to not make a decision that my country is to fall in love with my country and to be willing, if called upon, to lay my life down for my country, that I would. These are the many stories that littered my journey of coming to this place, not based on emotions, but based on this is the greatest nation that has ever existed. We are not perfect, but I can assure you there is no other country running a close second to our country. But it is on our watch to preserve this nation for another 250 years. But we got to make some tough decisions. We're going to talk about some of those tough decisions when we come back. I want to open up this big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump signed into law. But we're going to, and again, it's weaving our history. How do we come to these decisions that we come to? Remember, no one is a blank slate. Everyone, everything, every experience is writing upon you. Abraham Lincoln said, public opinion is everything. With it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. But you have to ask yourself, who's forming, who's molding, who's creating public opinion? This is a huge market out there for your opinion. And everyone is writing upon it. When we get back from this break, we're going to kind of talk about that. You're listening to The Kathy Barnette Show, and the call-in number is 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. If you want to talk to me about how you are celebrating 4th of July, what your thoughts are on what I've been talking about. I think this is the greatest country in the world. If you disagree, call me, 855-839-1210. I will see you on the other side.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/facts or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
In retirement, nobody wants to have one eye on airfare and the other eye on the stock market. Tune in to the Retirement Spectrum with Alan Cohen. Saturdays at 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 1039 FM.
11 people have been shot at a South Philadelphia nightclub at 11th and Washington. Philadelphia striking workers will present a new proposal to the city as contract talks resume. And even with the headliners dropping out, the July 4th concert and fireworks on the Parkway went off last night with no problems.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
See Joe Conklin and the City Rhythm Orchestra at Wildwood High School on Baker Ave, July 11th, and at the Ocean City Music Pier, July 12th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com.
JoeConklin.com! Extreme heat, power outages, don't get left in the dark. Power up with a Generac generator from MT Rule, your local Generac generator dealer. Certified technicians properly size and install your generator. Free estimates, financing options, peace of mind, and annual service contracts. Plus, 1210 WPHT listeners get a special offer. $300 off your generator installation, a 5-year extended warranty, and 1 year of free mobile link monitoring. Call now, 610-539-2920. That's 610-539-2920.
Here's a harsh fact. 40% of women and almost 20% of men suffer from varicose or spider veins. And if you think this is just a cosmetic problem, think again. Varicose or spider veins, if left untreated, can lead to swollen or discolored legs, cramping, the inability to stand or walk, neuropathy, even worse, blood clots, which can travel to other parts of your body. But here's the good news. Advanced Medical Vein Treatment Centers offers plans that treat and cure the condition, not just cover up. Grab your phone, take down this number, and call 800-587-1274. That's 800-587-1274. When you call, you'll get free information on how you can live your life to the fullest again. Walk, exercise, sleep well. Your vein problems will not go away on their own, and in time can lead to major health issues. Call Advanced Medical Vein today for free information on fast and easy solutions that are covered by most insurance plans, Medicare included. Call 800-587-1274. That's 800-587-1274 today.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome. You're spitting today's toothpaste on top of yesterday's toothpaste. You hope that it'd go away. Yeah, clogs don't just go away. I make them go away. I'm Green Gobbler, the only clog dissolver you need. I'm bleach-free, safe for your pipes, and I work. Guaranteed or your money back. Because I never met a clog that was gonna unclog itself. Green Gobbler. Let the gobbler get it.
I'm Ed Evans, CEO of Consumer Cellular. No, we're not one of the big guys. Truth is, we don't want to be. If you're over 50, Big Wireless probably has you paying for more data than you might need. You could be throwing away thousands over a lifetime. We're not here to be the biggest. We're here to bring you something we believe is better. Our plans start at just $20. You'll get the same fast nationwide coverage without the big wireless bill.
Call 1-888-FREEDOM, visit consumercellular.com/fax or a store near you. Plans include $5 credit for auto pay and e-billing. See site for additional facts.
Now you can listen to Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the iHeartRadio app.
Welcome back. You are listening to the Kathy Barnette Show here on the #1 talk radio station in Philadelphia that also covers most of the mid-Atlantic states. So we're talking about New Jersey, all of Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Delaware, Maryland. So how are y'all doing? Give me a call at 855-839-1210, 839-1210. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about this big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump what is this? Boxer being processed for expedited ICE remover. I don't care if you're a boxer. I don't care if you're just a nice, New Jersey father. If you're illegal and you're committing crimes and you are terrorizing people, it's time for you to get up and get out. I don't really care. They always love putting these adjectives to describe the various people. No, we got to start looking at our country. How do we preserve this nation for another 250 years? I can assure you, flinging open our borders and allowing 20 million plus people to come into our nation and just sully it. Yes, I said it. Sully it. We don't know who these people are. We don't know. It's like open up your front door. And whoever wants to walk in, walk right to your refrigerator, eat your food, make a mess in the kitchen, sit down, suck up all of your air conditioning with the door open, leaving the door open, and washing their clothes with the air conditioner on, sitting there watching your television. Yeah. How many of you will allow that? And we have allowed 20 million people to just come into our country. And every time I think about it, it's like, I don't even understand. But let's kind of break open this big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump just signed into law. Let's just run through some things here. So one, it made the 2017 tax cuts permanent, which is very important. In 2017, it was not made permanent, and business people are not stupid. This is how they've been able to open up a business and keep that business going, is because one, they're not stupid. They read the fine print. And when they read the fine print of 2017, they realized that these cuts are not permanent. So what did they do? They took as many expenditures that they could in the first year of this, and then they expensed it without making additional expenditures, because they're like, well, I don't know if this bill, who's going to be in office come 2025, and if this bill is going to be extended. And so making the 2017 tax cuts permanent allows businesses to think to themselves, hey, we can plan out our business investments, and business investments equals jobs and GDP growth. So we can plan out our business investment over the next 10 years instead of every 2 years we have to make a new plan, because we don't know what's going to happen, who's going to be in office. And so this is really good. This is a positive. The second thing, standard deductions are going up. They're going up from $29,000, I think maybe $29,200, going up to $31,500. So now we are going to be able, the middle class Americans, we're going to be able to increase our standard deductions. Child tax credit is going up from $2,000 to $2,200, with a refundable portion of that of up to $1,700. So that is good for the middle class. Because see, the prevailing thought is like, this is a tax cut for the billionaires, for the rich, right? Because Democrats have no plan. They have no plan. All they have is hate. All they have is the opposite, right? So I look at this as someone in the middle class, and I say to myself, this is good. Let me continue. New parent account. I'm not so keen on this. So the new parent account for anyone who's born, I think between 2025 and 2028, the Trump account will open up for any child born between 2025 and 2028, I believe it is, and $1,000 will be placed into this account for this child. There are some other provisions added to that, but that's the general theme. Now, again, I'm all about personal responsibility, but even more so, I'm thinking, what if a Pete Buttigieg is now president, or a Kamala Harris is president, or a Zohran Mamdani becomes president? I can see Democrats using this that has already been created and placed into law to now fund illegals, right? Why not? Now, of course, it says American, but listen, for American citizens, but listen, we're literally coming out of the past 4 years where we couldn't even define what a woman was. And we couldn't even define what an American citizen is. Remember, they told us to stop calling them illegals because no human is illegal and this country is for everybody. We got to, yeah. So I can see that fancy footwork going on under a, God forbid, President Buttigieg, right? So I'm not so keen on that, but there it is. Okay, the other one is for service workers. So now we're not so much talking about the middle class, but now we're talking about the working class, right? Those who a large portion of their income comes from tips. And we have a deduction. Now, this did not exist before. Now, again, as I'm talking about these, think what Democrats are telling you right now, right? Because they're out here competing for your attention and for your opinion. But now it's your responsibility not to be ignorant and not to be gullible. So someone can just come and say anything. And you're like, yeah, this is a tax cut for the rich. Okay, you got to think. Put on your thinking cap. Here we go. So what did not exist before was service workers, the working class, the working poor, was not able to was not able to deduct their tips from their income. Now, under Donald Trump and this big beautiful bill, they can take a deduction up to $25,000 on their tips. There's a phase out for all of these, right? So if you're making over $300,000, something like that, it begins to phase out or phase out completely at $300,000. And I believe it begins to phase out at $150,000 of income. So we're specifically talking about the working class here. Over time, for those who survive, and I've heard stories of people, a part of their survival, their ability to survive and pay their bills is taken into account. I'm going to have to get some overtime, right? And so for those particular people, if you're a joint filer, you get to deduct overtime pay, another $25,000. None of this existed. So when you hear Democrats talking about a cut for the rich, stop it. Roll your eyes and tell them to stop it. Also, if a car is assembled here in America, new car loan, interest, you get to deduct up to $10,000 of the interest. That is a good thing. Here it comes for Pennsylvanians, New Jersey, those who live in New Jersey, and you're listening to my voice right now, as well as New York, as well as California, but we're here in Pennsylvania. The SALT tax, the state and local tax, has increased, the deduction has increased from $10,000 to $40,000. That is huge. Now, I know some of the states where your state and local taxes are low, you don't want to pay, you don't want to have to subsidize people up here in Pennsylvania. But listen, unfortunately, we're watching this flood take place in Texas right now, but we also see the wildfires in California. Pennsylvanians, we don't have a lot of these floods. We don't have a lot of tornadoes and hurricanes. We don't have a lot of wildfires, and yet as taxpayers, we are subsidizing that. So in that vein, we're going to get a little bit more subsidy here. I'm perfectly fine with the $40,000 deduction. And then lastly, seniors, you get to deduct $6,000 of Social Security. We got to take a break. Here's the number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210.
Career changers, including veterans and active duty service members. Your transition starts here. Go from GI to IT in a matter of months. Become a certified cyber warrior with training at My Computer Career. Cybersecurity specialists are in high demand, offering IT pros great opportunities and a rewarding lifestyle while protecting our people, liberty, and treasured institutions from cyber threats. Deploy your career in IT today. Learn more at mycomputercareer.edu/CWP. SkillBridge and other VA benefits are available to those who qualify.
Here at the Almond Joy Factory, where tropical vibes abound, we use soft, fresh-tasting coconut.
The crunchiest almonds and delicious chocolate candy.
Ah, but do you know what our most important ingredient is?
Sometimes you feel like a nut.
Sometimes you don't.
Almond Joy's got nuts and something even way better than that. Yes, Almond Joy is made with almonds and joy.
Join 1210 WPHT and Nick Kale in supporting the 38th annual Bend to the Shore Bike Tour. It's Sunday, July 20th. Ride 10, 30, or 65 miles, or just make a donation. Visit bendtoshore.org and enter code NICK1210 to get $25 off the registration fee. That's Bend, the number 2, shore.org. Promo code NICK1210. The Bend to Shore Bike Tour provides financial relief for families of the fallen and critically injured first responders and is organized by the Families Behind the Badge Children's Foundation.
Texting privacy policy and terms and conditions posted at textingterms.us. Texting enrolls you for recurring automated text marketing messages. Message and data rates may apply or play stop to opt out.
Ugh, why does my bank always charge me fees?
That's because your bank is trash. Ever heard of Current? You could get a paycheck advance up to $750 if you qualify.
Wait, $750? Like before payday?
Exactly. It's your money, just early. Set up an eligible direct deposit, see if you qualify, and that's it.
So what's the catch?
No catch, no overdraft fees, no annual fees, and you can build your credit without falling into debt.
Wow, I needed this like yesterday. What do I do?
Text them. That's it.
To get started with Current, text card to 323232. That's card to 323232.
Banking services provided by Choice Financial Group and or Cross River Bank, both members FDIC. Paycheck advance provided by Fineco Advance LLC, a financial technology company, not an FDIC insured bank. Product eligibility, availability, and performance may vary and are subject to change at any time. Using your credit card responsibly may allow you to improve your credit score. For details on cost, terms, and conditions, visit current.com or call 1-888-851-3177.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-207-4545. That's 800-207-4545. Once again, that's 800-207-4545.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
This is the greatest country. Greatest country ever. Have you heard that? That was Whitney Houston. Oh my God, breaking it down. The late Whitney Houston. How tragic. But woo, that girl can sing, and nobody can sing, or as we would say in the country, sang that song like Whitney Houston. Oh my God, it is truly my favorite song of my husband. If you can see my husband and children when that song comes on, they're like all doing long eye rolls at me because I'm up on my feet, I'm waving my hands. I love this country. I hope you guys can feel the genuine enthusiasm for this nation. I'm so very grateful. And I'm so very grateful that we are grappling with hard topics in our country, right? We have to start talking again about things that are meaningful, and specifically things that are meaningful to you at your kitchen table. They're constantly trying to guilt us to think about people way over there on the other side of the nation, or people way over there on the other side of the globe, at the expense of your own kitchen table, people. Makes absolutely no sense. If you want to jump in on this conversation, call me 855-839-1210. So now is the time that I will start talking about the nut of the week, right? And again, it's such a competitive race. There's so many nuts out here running around. The one who won, however, I'm going to say, is Muslim socialist Zohran Mamdani, who identified as Black in his application to Columbia University. Yeah, New York Times just broke that. Yeah. So his family is Indian, moved to Uganda, exploited them, got kicked out of Uganda for exploiting Black people. And then they moved over to South Africa, had to leave there because they got into a tussle. And then they came here, and his father is actually a professor at Columbia University. So I would think the admission would be easy for him since his father is an economist at the university. But to sweeten the deal, he said, yeah, I'm Black. And it reminded me of Elizabeth Warren. Yeah, I'm Indian. Well, how are you Indian, Elizabeth? Tell us about that. Well, my grandmama said I had high cheekbones. Yeah, that's the Democrat Party. Stupid. And me as a Black woman, I get no benefits. I guess you got to get the benefits of being Black if you're not Black. But if you're an Indian who exploited Ugandans in your family lineage and got kicked out of Uganda and then kicked out of South Africa and then come here, father becomes an economist at Columbia University, an elite university, Ivy League university. Only, it's just so rich. But anyway, he's the nut of the week. However, he got some close competition here. I was reading one, again, I read to you guys many of the aspects of this big, beautiful bill. But again, Democrats have no purpose. So they're sitting around waiting for Republicans to do something. And then they can say, yeah. Right. So now we have a purpose, and their purpose is really between now and next year to just ride on the coattails of this big, beautiful bill, trying to trash it. And here you have Joe Biden writing a very well-written, grammatically correct post on Twitter, which, again, tells you it wasn't Joe Biden who wrote this. Anyway, here's what it says. The Republican budget bill is not only reckless, it's cruel. It slashes Medicaid and takes away health care from millions of Americans. It closes rural hospitals and cuts food assistance for our veterans and seniors. It jacks up energy bill, and it could trigger deep cuts to Medicare, blah, 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 blah. But then you have not just him, but our own representative. Let me see if I can find it. Yes, Brian Fitzpatrick. Yes, Republican. He was one of two Republicans to not vote for that long list of positives, right? Who throws the baby out with the bathwater? You may not be able to get all that you can get, all that you want, but y'all heard me read off all of these positives. Who in their right mind in the Republican Party will vote against it? Well, Brian Fitzpatrick, he is the representative of PA1, which is Bucks County. And it's this long statement he put out, blah, 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 blah. I was listening with each iteration, listening carefully, blah, blah, blah. And then he goes on. However, it was the Senate's amendments to Medicaid, in addition to several other Senate provisions that altered the analysis for our PA1 community, right? Like, oh, these bleeding hearts. Oh, I cannot believe it. Oh, my goodness. You know, we're going to kick off people from Medicaid. Oh, they taking away your Medicaid. That is a lie. That's propaganda, people, okay? Again, everyone is out here competing for your thoughts. So you have to be a gatekeeper over your own thoughts. And so what are the facts? Here it is. Because Democrats are out here screaming that requiring 20 hours a week is heartless. But do you know what's actually heartless? Telling people they're too broken to contribute. Telling people that the best they can do is sit on a couch all day and take a check from the government. That is heartless. That is cruel. And is detrimental to a nation who has a dropping workforce participation rate. We need people who are able-bodied, childless, to get their behinds off the couch and go out and put in a measly 20 hours a week. I mean, most of us are doing 20 hours a day. I certainly do more than 80 hours a month, which is what this is requiring. We didn't get where we are as a people by begging for help. This is the greatest nation. We didn't get here by people sitting on the couch begging for help. We got here by helping ourselves, even when the world was against us. So no, I don't think asking able-bodied, childless adults to get off the couch and help the rest of us do what we need to do, I think it's a compliment. And by the way, when they say millions of people, at the most it's 4 million people. 4 million. We have over 70 million on the program. Okay, I see y'all on the other side. Here's the number, 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. I'm coming into the last portion.
Attention, have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-207-4545. That's 800-207-4545. Once again, that's 800-207-4545.
Stop buying gold online. Edelman's Coins is the Philadelphia area's largest buyer and seller of gold and silver bullion. Family owned for 99 years, Edelman's Coins has continued to provide ultra-competitive pricing paired with unparalleled customer service. With transparent buy-sell spreads, you know you will always get a fair deal. When buying or selling bullion or coins, think Edelman's Coins. Call 215-572-6480 or visit edelmanscoins.com.
Tune in tonight starting at 7 p.m. for the Bob Pantano Saturday Night Dance Party. Live from Adelphia in Deptford, the Bob Pantano Saturday Night Dance Party is broadcast exclusively on 98.1 HD2 and Bob Pantano Dance Party Radio on the Odyssey app. Powered by Evans Pest Control.
Transform your home this summer at Bucks County Estate Traders 4th of July sale. Now through July 7th, take 20 to 50% off select items store-wide. No matter your style, you'll find high-quality furniture that makes a statement. Browse over 16,000 unique pieces from vintage classics to modern showstoppers. Use code USA25 at BucksCountyEstateTraders.com or visit their Hatfield showroom, now open extended hours and Sundays. Act fast. These deals won't last.
The IRS finally caught up with Louie.
I hadn't paid my taxes in 8 years. I owe the IRS a lot of money.
Louie was in deep trouble.
We're going to take your house, put a lien on your bank account, garnish your pay. They don't care. They're going to take your paycheck.
Louie found out about Optima Tax Relief, the leading tax resolution firm. A-plus rated by the Better Business Bureau, they've resolved over $1 billion for their clients.
Optima Tax, they help me. They calm me down. They make me feel comfortable, and I trust them.
Louie has a lot to be thankful for.
I don't owe the IRS anymore, and I'm able to live a comfortable life, a lot better life. It was because of Optima Tax.
For tax help you can trust, call Optima now for a free consultation. Take it from Louie.
If you owe the IRS, don't go it alone. Give Optima Tax a call. They can help you.
Call 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840. 800-354-2840.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Attention. Have you racked up $10,000 or more in credit card debt? Are you barely getting by making minimum payments? With credit card debt reaching all-time highs, National Debt Relief is notifying consumers about significant debt relief options currently being made available to help those with overwhelming credit card debt. These options may reduce a large portion of credit card debt for those who qualify. You don't need to declare bankruptcy or take out a consolidation loan, and you may only have to pay back a fraction of what you owe, even if you have bad credit. National Debt Relief has already reduced the credit card debt for more than 550,000 consumers, so don't wait. If you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in credit card debt, you can now take advantage of this financial debt relief as the cost of living continues to skyrocket. To check what debt reduction you may qualify for, call 800-207-4545. That's 800-207-4545. Once again, that's 800-207-4545.
You can now tune in to Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the iHeartRadio app.
Of our time today. Yeah, we're at the last moments of our time today. If you want to try to jump in before I sign off for the day, please do it. 855-839-1210, 855-839-1210. You're listening to the Kathy Barnette Show. Woo! We've talked about a lot. We be moving fast. You know what? I over prepare. I really do. Y'all should see my notes right now. I over prepare. But it's so much information. Oh, let me also include that Planned Parenthood is set to lose close to $1 billion in taxpayer dollars, and nearly 200 facilities face closure. What? So excited. That is good news. Babies will get to live. How about that? They will be able to be born. How cool is that? I love President Ronald Reagan. He said, in terms of regarding abortion, he said, the people who are, something I've observed, he said, those who are very pro-abortion have already been born. They just don't want you to be born. They're already alive and living their life, making their choices. But it's interesting how they've already been born. That is a unique observation. Let's get back to this big, beautiful bill. Also, SNAP, food stamps, is going to be reduced, and some work requirements, as well as Medicaid, some work requirements. I'm good for it. I'm good for all of that. I think if you are able-bodied and you are capable of getting up and going out and working, especially if you're childless, absolutely, you should get up and pay. Now they're also moving some of the costs, some of the administrative costs back to the states versus the federal government, i.e., you and I, paying for it. Why? Because states operate on very stringent budgets, and so to call for the state to cough up an extra 25%, because I believe the administrative cost of handling food stamps, for example, is going from 50%, where the state was required to kick in half of the administrative costs of monitoring people, getting people on and off of food stamps, is going to go from 50% to 75%. I believe that's the case. And so now what is that going to force the states, especially these sanctuary states, especially these Democrat-ran states, what is it going to force them to do? It's going to force them to really become a little bit more stringent about making sure those who are receiving food stamps are eligible to receive food stamps. Those who are receiving Medicaid are eligible to receive Medicaid. It's going to force them to do some Doge cuts on themselves. And that is a good thing, people. That is a good thing, right? So when you hear people like Brian Fitzpatrick, one of two Republicans not to vote for this, or when you see all of Democrats not voting for this and coming out, think. This is a good bill for the middle class specifically, and also for working class. Yes, others are going to benefit from it as well. But this is the first time people are actually talking about the middle class and did something to help the middle class. So thank you, Donald Trump. We appreciate you, Mr. President. Okay, blessings, guys. Take care. Be safe. Love your family. Stop taking them for granted. And lastly, move in purpose, not in anger. Blessings.
Hey, Green Gobbler here. So you've got a clogged drain in your bathroom. Water in the sink's overstaying its welcome?